Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for tuning in again. Salute you in. Class begins now. Happy World Wushu Day. We're going to do review. We're going to do some new stuff. I'm going to try to cover for you guys mobility, flexibility. Let's put that in kind of one block. Strength, and then conditioning. And it's a spectrum. They're all related. Your mobility will feed into your strength. Your strength will feed your conditioning, your endurance. So what will be new today is some different forms of conditioning. I'm going to show you how to do that with just your body and then also with a rope. So first, we're going to review the recharge movements, which we've done all the last 3 times. Up and down through the neck. You're standing tall in a proud posture. And if the moderator could give me, Brandon, if you could give me every 10 minutes and then every quarter of the hour, 15, 30, 45, that would be great.
You got it.
Thank you, sir. So what's important for you guys that I'm not doing is the breathing, because I'm talking. So you guys should be inhaling up through the nose, exhaling down through the mouth or nose. After you go up and down 10 or more times, go left and right. Now, because of the talking, my numbers will be off. Please don't deduct points for that. But my numbers might be off. I might not always do 5 to 10, okay? So back and forth through the neck, up and down through the neck. Inhaling. You can go much slower with this, and that would be super useful. But I'm going to go a little faster through it because we've done it all before. And the reason to go slow is to build mindfulness, especially if you're training on your own, you don't have a coach. Go slow, and we call it intuitive exercise. You're going to feel more, notice more what your body really needs, and then you're going to do that. Now, one last thing that's important today, it's 8-8. So let's embrace circular movement. Let's embrace figure eights and infinity signs. Let's make lots of loops today. So that you saw that loop through the neck, right? We just did a little figure 8. In the wrists now and the knuckles, I'm clenching my fist 2, 3, 4 seconds, and then extending out the hands, clench and extend. And then push back, flex back your wrists, push the room a little wider, curl and go the other way. Mentioned before, you need to stay engaged in this warm-up to really make it work. So make things slightly more complex, okay? I'm alternating what I'm doing, or add compounding movements. This is the fist and knuckle part with the wrist part, right? So only when you feel like it's easy, you're kind of checking out, add compounding, add complexity, add speed. Slow is a speed, right? So I said add speed, but you could reduce the speed too, but be mindful about it. So I'm at the elbows from the wrist, knuckles to elbows, making circles at about temples height. And you guys are breathing big if you're doing this along with me, or you're playing the recharge on your own. You could do this every day, and you could do it twice a day, depending on your needs. Let's internally rotate the shoulders and turn the thumbs down and brush by your ribs, bend and extend the elbows. I'm gonna try to get through this recharge before the first 10 or so minutes is up. High and low. Now we got another figure 8, a loop, if you will. Bend and extend, bend and extend. And here you can make it more complex. I'm going into the shoulders next. I'm gonna twist and reach. There's another concept I've talked about before, making things very local, especially when they don't feel good or you don't feel that you understand the movement. Make it local, just the shoulders mostly. Global is for when it does feel good. Get your whole body in there and you're flowing a little more. You're confident about the movement. It feels good. You're not chasing pain. You're chasing feedback. You're trying to stay engaged. Let's go through the mid spine here for a second. I might come back to shoulders, wrist, elbow, front to back, front to back. You can also go, this is the T-spine, is my focal point, side to side. I don't want to embarrass myself if there's some breakers or some pop and lockers out there, but you can make this a circle too. Extend, flex, right? Can make that T-spine a little bit circular too. Now, if I add some lateral flexion, I'm not going to lead with my neck because we did the neck already. My head's kind of balancing the teacup, and I'm trying to pull the ribs. Use these T-Rex arms. Lift your elbows to make it longer leverage, or use long arms for leverage. And we're going to twist up the mid-spine next. Notice I kind of peel my shoulders out of the way, big twist and release. I'm going the same direction a few times, and then I'll take it back the other way. Back and forth if things feel good, and I'm doing a little altitude change with this too. I'm popping up and down. Could hang out low, hang out tall, get a little different feedback. Headed to the lower back, I'm going to give the area a little stroke or a tap, a massage, and then extend and flex from below. But again, like, you could balance a yoga block on top of your head. I don't recommend an actual teacup, but you get the idea. It's not about the neck so much. Side to side. If you imagine a pool table on the floor, let's get the corners, right corner pocket, left corner pocket. I'm going again a little faster than I might. It's nice and warm here in the dry, sunny part of Oregon, Southern Oregon. So it's hot. I'm pretty warmed up. If you're not, go slower. Leave some parts out. You don't need to keep up with this pace. Circle the lumbar, pelvis, and hip. And then just a little bit of isolation, especially if you're tight or restricted here. Maybe you've been seated, been watching a lot of good videos today. Start tilting the pelvis front to back, or tilt the pelvis side to side. And not to be redundant, I don't want to embarrass myself if there's some salsa dances out there, but you can do a little Latin roll of the hips and get circular, or again, figure eights, right? It's 8-8 World Wushu Day. Now, just the hip, brace your body like a boxer, sanda. We're going to brace to protect, and then just the hip. It's a little chubby checker twist. Do the twist without moving much your head or your ribs or your pelvis. Isolate that hip. We're going to have some nice review on how to really mobilize those hips, right? So you can just crack those kicks out whenever you want without thinking about it. So headed downstream, I'm going to do a little more with the hip, and you could hold on to something. Don't let balance be your main focus right now. I'm trying to loosen up the hip joint. And if that feels great, I'm adding compounding shoulder and hip. Breathing big. Both directions. You can make your own moves out of this too, right? To add compounding. I can't give you every version of what's harder or what might be harder for you, but you can certainly add multiple directions of multiple body parts. It's not a contest, and no extra points will be awarded, but make it fun. I'm going to flex my hip, knee to belly, and now it's the knee joint that I'm trying to mobilize small circles. If you're competitive in Tao Lu, we got to bulletproof those knees. Circle, circle, get some fluid going. And let's work through both sides. Golden Rooster stands on one leg, circle, circle. The warm-up is meant to be non-denominational, should work for Sanda, should work for Tai Chi, should work for Tao Lu, you name it. I'm not going to use like a lot of proper names for Wushu, not because I can't. Jingji Du Li again, but again, just to be non-denominational should help anybody and everybody, I hope. Now take your time, the knees.
10 minutes, Peter.
All right, we're going to do just the ankles, last piece on the recharge. Thank you. Front to back with the ankles, plantar flex, dorsiflex. Inside and outside edges. I did want to plug Brandon Sugiyama, Jayo Wushu, and the ongoing classes he's doing, helping people practice from their homes. Get both sides. When you have a small space, I think that's just a great project and something I'm hoping we're going to collaborate on more and more. So this is one of his moves that I like a lot. Imagine your wrists tied together, roll a circle. So we get that figure eight thing again, right? Inside and outside circles. And then how about making it change altitude, multiple heights or directions, high, middle, low, middle. All right, so lots of ways we could do this, right? So out of the recharge, hopefully you're feeling loosened up, you lubricated your joints. We're gonna go into a big global pattern for the whole body. It's the yoga pump, and I'm gonna tie into that a review of the conditioning drill that we did previous, which is called the Great Gamma Protocol, a famous wrestler. And you can ask questions about that. I can refer you how to learn that. So where it starts, we're gonna use the yogi pump, up dog, down dog in some modalities. I'm gonna hang out first for a couple breaths, get my bearings with my hips deeply flexed, biceps in line with the arm, open up my shoulders. I'm gonna peel myself into more of a planked push-up position, the chaturanga in yoga, and then extend my hips into the floor, push them into the ground for 2, 3, and 4 seconds. To use this for strength, you could use an eccentric push-up, and I'm gonna do that about 3 times. I'm gonna lock up my legs, zip up tight, push back into my heels. So my legs are loaded, and my palms, I'm pulling them towards my own toes. So the abdominals are on, the front thighs are on, squeeze your butt, and then squeeze your butt a little more. If you tremor of truth is good. We know you got tension with that. Just don't forget to breathe. Inhale up, exhale back. Now I'm gonna add 2 more and then some layers to my yogi pump or Hindi push-up, Kushti push-up. We got some different names for this movement. And I think you would see it in some traditional Chinese modalities too. One more time. Now my favorite version is a little different. I'm gonna take my stance just slightly wider. And actually I'm gonna start in more of a crouch. So my hips are flexed, loaded with the knees flexed. And then I'll push back and get a big stretch on the superficial posterior line. I'm gonna fold at the elbow, which is easier said than done. Fold at the wrist, like I'm going under a barbed wire fence. I'm not quite touching the ground. All right, I'm just above it. And then hug back, push back, abs tight, crouch, hips up, load up those ankles, your Achilles. You're gonna need that later. We're gonna do some jumping maybe. Elbows, wrist, get under the fence, don't touch the floor is lava. Up, 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 up. And then back into the crouch. One more of those. Hang out a little if you like. You can manipulate the speed to make this a little more valuable if you're well conditioned. Remember, slow is a speed too. So out of that yogi pump, and then I'm going to do 4 points crawling. My wrists and my ankles, my feet are on the floor. My wrists and ankles are loaded. My hands and feet are on the floor. Tabletop, you could, as if you could balance something on your back. I'm gonna pull my left hand out of the way, open up the left hip like a swiveling door, step through into a bridge, and extend my hips up into the air. Lower down, emptying my right leg. I'm gonna rotate like a rotisserie chicken here, belly button back to the floor. I'm in 4 points crawling. Keep rotating, get to the bridge, extend my hips. I'm gonna do that 2 more times per side. One nice way to use this Gamma protocol for conditioning, to game it, you could do a ladder. You could do 1 of each move, yogi pump, and then this hip switch, and then the bhakti squat that I'm gonna show you. 3 movements, and you could ladder them. 1 of each in the first round, and then 2 of each in the second round, and then 3 of each, etc. You can make it fun. Just roll 2 pair of 6-sided dice. That's how many rounds you do. You could do it like CrossFit style and do a full minute of each movement, like every minute on the minute. You could do an AMRAP, as many rounds as possible in a given time. So even though it's only 3 movements, you've got infinite ways to keep this interesting for your nervous system and continue to adapt, to get better. So here's the squat, the 3rd piece, and then I'm gonna tie the 3 pieces together, starting now actually. Set your hips back like you wanna jump and sweep. Don't be too heavy on your heels. Your heels can come up. Don't be too heavy on your toes. Don't smash your big toe. Slow is the speed. You should be breathing with the movement. I'm going to do 10. I'll give you a view from a couple angles. And that can be fun too, right? Just change your angles up. If you're doing it outside, maybe you've got a team you're working with and each student can do it a little bit differently, like a you go, I go. Let's see how you like it, how I like it. After the Bhakti squat, Hindi push-up, I like, again, that crouch, high hips, elbow, wrist, extend, reload. I'm going to do 5. Hips, shoulders, hips. This is going to be my workout for today, guys. So that's why we're pushing the pace a little more. It's 2. Everybody get some on World Wushu Day. As soon as I finish the push-up, crawling, 4 points crawling, switch, extend. Do 3 per side. One more for good measure. I'm kind of hopping through the middle if I'm comfortable with this motion. And super slow is super useful as well. And then you could come right back into it. Hardly miss a beat. You're back into those squats. So use the volume of movement, use the density, the amount of rest in between movements or between sets, and then the intensity. And the intensity is going to come from how hard is this movement for you? Can you do a harder version of it? Could you wear a weight vest? Lots of stuff. Most people know only intensity and they do too much, and volume and they do too much. Density is a real useful tool. That's more about the tempo of things. Rest more, rest less. Consistency trumps intensity. Consistency is your friend. All right, that was the yogi pump, and that's a good way to condition yourself and get stronger. What we won't do a lot of today, but I'm happy to do later, is review that maximum strength portion that was from session 1, the one-arm push-up and the single leg squat. What we're going to do next, though, is some more mobility. I'm going to get into the tactical frog. This is one of the most useful patterns that I know to help get you towards a more centered split, to help your squatting and help your kicking. So I'm going to show you from a side view. I'm almost in that crawl shape, but I've turned outward my hips, externally rotated the hips and turned outward the feet, and putting some stress on the hip joint. I'm rocking with my shoulders over my wrist, and I'm not changing very much the shape of my spine. It's close to neutral. I'm going to rock 5 and 10 times. I'm going to rock from side to side as well as front to back. Like I mentioned when we were standing, if you got that clock face on the floor or pool table on the floor, corner to corner, 10 o'clock, 4 o'clock, get back into that 8 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and circles. When we get to the last conditioning part, and I talk about using just your body or using a rope, I'm going to use that clock analogy a lot, right? Oh, and it's 8-8, so let's make some figure eights too. Like your belly button was a paintbrush. Now I'm trying to roll some of those figure eights. Now, after a few efforts, I'm going to retest and see if I can push my knees a little wider. And indeed, I could just a little bit. Now I'm going down to bent elbows. This would be like part 2 of the tactical frog. And I'm rocking again. I'm repeating all the same steps. I forgot to make you guys swear in. Can you do this for me? Everybody raise their hand. I promise not to cry during the tactical frog. And if you're not even thinking about crying, then maybe you can go a little wider. Rock back to forth, rock side to side, get your corners, get your circles, make your figure eights, at least today. Now, this is where we start to have some fun. The can opener. I'm going to pull my elbows towards my own center body. I'm pulling my elbows towards my front pocket. I'm going to try not to move very much anything else. So I'm talking about your head, talking about your heart, I'm talking about your guts. Don't move your skull, don't move your ribs, don't move your pelvis. I do want to move my hip joint. I'm picking my leg up to internally rotate. Let's make this as comfortable as possible. We're not chasing pain. You already promised not to cry. Have some extra padding for your knees. That might be helpful here. We're going to add one more tiny piece. I'm going to come back up to straight arms and reach underneath, okay? And maybe bent elbows if you're feeling mobile here. Reach underneath and twist your T-spine, your ribs, your head. Your shoulders your hips rather, and pelvis can't really twist. The earth is in the way of that, right? I'm hanging out for just a few breaths, or I might go back and forth. All right, sounds like we're doing pretty good on time, so I'm gonna add another piece of this. I'm pushing my arms to straight to give a little more space, and I'm pushing my left leg towards straight, one leg towards straight. It's a bit like a drop stance, except for the position of this leg. I'm not sitting on my foot. I can rock from this position, let that hip rotate a little bit in and out. And again, you can see where maybe this might help you get a little closer to the splits over time. I'm pushing one leg to straight and rocking a little bit and rotating. You can see that leg. You can combine tactics. Remember that I want you engaged. So even if you're very, very mobile in this space, you can combine tactics, make it a compounded movement. So I'm going to do one leg straight. Also, the twist before, both. And I'll show that on the both sides. One leg to straight, twisting in opposition. If you're getting some heat out of this, that's normal. This is a bit of conditioning really for your joints. It sets you up for some good looking squats too. I can come out of the frog, walk myself back, and I'm basically in a good low squat position based off of that. So let's get up, shake it loose, walk it around just a little bit after the tactical frog. All right, and now we're gonna go to a tall seated position. This is the hip switches. We've done hip switches together before. We're gonna review it. And again, depending on your tempo and volume and intensity, use tempo, volume, intensity, this could be a lot of things. It could be just mobility for you, or it could really be a form of conditioning and strength. Now I'm rocking back and forth. I'm in a tall seated position with my shoulders packed and my hands pressed into the ground. I'm rolling back and forth. If this was very uncomfortable, I'd be sitting on top of something like a little blanket or pillow, giving my hips a little more space. Rotate back and forth. Once you've done that 5 and 10 times, unplug one arm and reach across the body towards the opposite knee. In some modalities, they call this a shin box. In some modalities, I've seen it called hip switches. And in yoga and yin yoga, I'm a yin yoga instructor as well, we call it deer, like a deer resting with its legs there. So what else is it called? There's a version of this called roadkill. We can reach across the body. My hand finds opposite knee. So my left hand found my right knee, and now I'm going to flex at the hips. I'm coming down slowly. Reverse. I'm going to continue to add pieces for the next minute or two in the shin box. Right now, I'm seeking the earth. I'm flexing the hips. For some, you're going to run out of space for your hips, and you'll start flexing at your spine, and that's okay. That might feel good. Seek the earth, a little more yin energy, yield to it, or seek the heavens. You can extend your hip. I'm going to use my arm, my rear arm, the one I've turned into, right arm for this case, to post and suspend some of my body's weight. Extending my hip, clench my glutes, seek the heavens. If you already did seek the earth. Extension versus flexion. Now, returning to where this could help your splits. We're going to do a movement that is the opposite of the can opener, called a drawbridge. The can opener was intense internal hip rotation, and you can play with your IR here, your internal rotation, but just name dropping, functional range conditioning has really nice versions of this. Look up Dr. Spinea, and control yourself is his verbiage around this. Their motto, control yourself. But I like also to game it, like make it a bit of a game. Extend and reach, seek the earth. You could kick, right? That comes out of like capoeira. Kick from the ground. Or 1, 2. I'm just gaming it a little bit so I stay engaged, interested. And then you could just kind of, so again, hip switch, extend the flexed hip, or extend more the extended hip, and you're chasing your splits in that way, right? So you don't need to be able to do the splits to get started and reap these benefits. Baby steps, hip switch. That was the shin box series. It will help a lot in accessing the single-legged squat. What we're about to go into is some stuff that might help you access the single arm push-up, those 2 parts of the maximum strength routine. We just won't spend a lot of time on those actual strength movements unless we're doing real good at the end. Now, I'm going to go into a rib pull series. I'm going to give myself a little bit of support for the neck. Towel. And then you also could use potentially a little support for your hip. I'm just going to have a rolled up yoga mat. That could be a blanket or bolster pillow again. And I'll try to demonstrate that. This from the both sides. Rib pull, you could find that the movement listed this way online. I got one leg extended. The leg that is to the earth is extended straight. The leg that's up in the heaven there, I'm going to pull it right up, flex to about my belly button. One arm relaxed to the earth, and then the other arm's reaching the heavens. That's my left arm. I'm going to wrap around my own ribs and gently peel myself towards heaven. I'm going to look up. Inhale, get a little taller. Exhale, try to twist a little more. If there's one thing that I've missed today that it's hard to get across in this format, it's the breathing. The breathing is just really, really important. It's what connects the heaven and the earth. It's you. So inhale, exhale. You will go further just by using the breath and the breathing apparatus, because those are muscles too.
Peter, we are coming up on 30 minutes.
All right. So we're flying, guys. This is good. I'm going to start to add some pieces to the rib pull. And just to know, like in a yin and yang kind of world, just being here, just holding it, that's a win. You spend 3 and 5 minutes holding the stretch passively. Excellent. That's a great thing to do at the end of the day. When you're trying to rev your system up for more strength or conditioning, I would not do that. I wouldn't make it more active and kind of build towards that. But so it depends a little bit, right? Where you are and how your day went. We're going to pretend like we're building up to doing something harder, because we are. And so I got hand over hand, shoulder over shoulder, hip joint over hip joint. But one leg is extended and one leg is flexed. I'm going to try to pull my left arm, that's my top arm, back and forth sliding, rubbing my hands together. What's hard, and I'm not entirely successful right this minute, but what's hard is to keep your skull very still and to keep your pelvis very still. And nothing else. It's mostly just that scap and mid-spine moving. Your shoulder blade and your ribs. After I've done it about 10 times, slowly and with breath and with intention, then I'll try the rib pull again. And I did go a little further. It may or may not help you go further too. It's worth making note of this. If you don't have a way to journal or keep track of what you are doing, points will be deducted. All right. Now, second piece, pry the hands apart so that the hand seeking the earth points to the earth, thumb to the earth, and the hand that seeks the heavens, thumb aims to the sky. Pull those two pieces apart. Eyes follow the hand. Now you get to move your cervical spine, but we're still keeping very still the lumbar pelvis and hip, the qua. Fan song qua. If you're a Tai Chi student, you probably heard that a few times. But just keep it very still, not a lot of tension in the lower body, and mobilize the upper body. Open it up. I'm losing my earbud here a couple times. The moderator will tell me if you guys are losing the audio. Pull apart 5 and 10 times with breath and intention, and then retest. See if you did twist a little further. Third piece, I'm going to go overhead. This is vitally important, especially for you guys who train in apparatus and weapons, to get that overhead position. I'm trying to keep my hand touching the floor, the reaching arm, touching the floor, and I rotate my ribs and my neck and my shoulder, but I still keep the pelvis, lumbar, hips still. Fan song qua. You do that 5 and 10 times. Let's say that we did, and then you retest the rib pull. Last piece. The straight leg on the floor. Now notice I unwound myself. I'm not maximally rotated anymore. I tested the maximum and then I eased off it. Now I get to bend my straight leg. I'm going to make a grab for that. If you can't reach that, you're still a good person, but maybe you get a towel or a strap so you can make the reach for the foot. You wrap it. The straight leg became bent. So, good news, bad news. The bent leg becomes straight or seeks straight. And now they call this in yin yoga, we call this cat chases its tail. And I'm going to look back away from this straight leg. Take a few breaths. And I'm going to work to the other side. I'm going to try to work pretty quickly to the other side. Since you saw this already, what you should do at home is spend more time where you need more time, right? Get with the coach, get with me, or really be mindful and use your breathing so that you know where you need to spend more time, and then give yourself permission to do that. So I know I don't need as much this side. I'm going to go a little faster through it. I test out the original position, the rib pull. The leg on the earth, that's straight. The leg above, that's flexed. One to earth, one to heaven. Let's peel the ribs. And again, I'm talking, and so that nothing works as good when you're talking. You want to breathe instead. Breathe and be mindful. I'm sliding a very straight arm, palm over palm, and I'm trying more and less successfully to keep the neck still and the pelvis still. So I'm just rotating what's in between them. Imagining more space, vertebrae to vertebrae, imagining more space from ribs to shoulders. Now, pry the hands apart, one thumb to the earth, one to heaven. Eyes follow the hands and twist. Look back. Watch out for kettlebells or anything else that might be on the floor around you. Eyes track the thumb back. Let's say you did 10. Retest the original hypothesis. Twist the ribs. Third piece, hand over hand. I'm going to walk one hand, crawl an umbrella overhead, turn the armpit to the sky, and return. I'm not letting my arm go quite far back as it could because of those kettlebells, but just go to where you feel comfortable. Don't chase pain, chase feedback. Retest the rib pull. That's how you'll know if you're really getting further. Maybe you get that notebook out and you start making note of the movements that work best for you. In the beginning, just do everything sequentially, make it a bit of a ritual, do evenly both sides. That's all good. But if you make notes, you can hack this system a little bit. You can get more of what you need if you make note that, wait, I only need to do one of those three things, not all of them, that really works for me. Or I only need to do the right side to unwind myself from all that twisting to the left that we've got, like in Tao Lu. You balance yourself out. Now I'm bending the straight leg, and then I'm going to straighten the bent leg. Cat chases its tail. 5 or so breaths. Breathe big. And I would hold that normally probably a little bit longer, but good to go. So I think we're doing pretty good on time. That we got to review the yoga pump and the great gamma conditioning protocol. We did the tactical frog and the shin box. Those play together pretty well, and they really help your hip mobility. Might access the splits a little more, and they also will help you in the single leg squat, the strength portion. Deer pose or shin box, we use that. They kind of lead into each other. The deer pose again would be here. You rotate the hips to one side, one arm found the opposite leg, and reach forward. What I didn't say is how the deer pose, if I fold it to the floor and look away from my leg, I can straighten the bent leg and lengthen out. And it starts to look a bit like the rib pull. If you took your rib pull and flipped yourself over like a pancake, right? Then you created that deer pose. They kind of play together well. Or look up online, Roadkill stretch on YouTube. You'll find a good version there on the Roadkill. So all of that, again, is that all this T-spine mobility and shoulders might help you access more like single arm push-ups and variations there. And a lot of that leg stuff could help you access the mobility required for like your pistol squats for strength. We're not going to do all of that today, but what I would recommend is building up to 5 sets of 5 of whatever your strongest version of the push-up, the hardest version where you can barely squeak out 5 reps in total. Start with 2 sets of 5, work up to 5 sets of 5 with long breaks in between. If your focus is maximal strength, strength likes rest, lots of rest in between. Many of my students confuse this. Conditioning, you can use the speed and the volume, the density. You can do lots of sets without a lot of rest. That's what you're trying to improve, your conditioning. And that's what we're about to go into, conditioning. But for maximum strength, strength likes rest. You could, work with your coach, work with me. You can build this out and have like training blocks, especially if you know when your competition is going to happen. You might focus on maximal strength for 6 to 8 weeks, and then move into more of a conditioning, strength and conditioning phase, and then really work on conditioning at the end. So like 8 weeks, 8 weeks, 8 weeks or something, or 8 weeks and 4 and 2. That would be my preference. I'd go 8 weeks, kind of maximum strength, 4 weeks strength and conditioning, and then 2 weeks maximal conditioning, endurance, right before the event. But there's different ways to do that, and it depends how much you're competing, what your competitive history is, what your injury history is. And then when it's off season, really work on mobility, maintain your strength, maintain your conditioning, and focus on your mobility and resilience. Be anti-fragile so you can, do more in total. Play a new sport, learn to juggle. That's what you do in the off season. Now, conditioning with the rope is where we're headed, and I hope we got a good 15 minutes to do that. You do not need a rope. You could use a towel. You could use nothing at all. It's okay. I'm going to use a rope here, and what the rope will do is just give me a little bit of feedback and a little bit of a cadence to work with. So I'm going to start to turn my rope in just one hand. I'll hold in the left in case you're following along with me. You guys can be in your right. And I'm going to make a forward circle with the rope, like a propeller, over and over again. Just going north to south, forward, forward, forward. What I'm going to start to do for conditioning is jump or hop. If you've got some high mileage joints or maybe you're rehabbing, then maybe you're not jumping. And you can still bounce. You can still load the joints. And the slap of the rope on the way down is telling me that's when I load my feet, load my ankles, load my Achilles. Boom, boom, 10 or so, trade sides, boom, boom. This could be actually jumping rope, right? For sure. We'll do that later. We don't need to. Boom. you'll still get challenged if you stay with me here for a while. Boom, boom, boom. And then I might also go backwards circle. And I'm going to call this 2 legs at once. Okay. I'm loading the both legs together. It's kind of standard jump rope style. I don't have a fancy rope here. It's just a rope. And I would recommend that you do in the beginning, a 1-to-2 ratio. Jump for 30 seconds, rest for a minute. Jump for 30 seconds, rest for a minute. There's no magic numbers, but for most bodies, a couple weeks of that, easy breezy, you start to move to a 1-to-1 ratio. 30 seconds work, 30 seconds rest. And you can play with that ratio. 1-to-1 ratio is pretty good if you're doing something intense, but 1-to-2, longer if you need to. So after the standard, we could alternate feet. So I'm still going to just make my circle. I'm not going to actually jump the rope. I'm just mimicking that I would be jumping and giving myself like a cadence, giving yourself precision. Right, left, right, left, right, left. Every time the rope hits the ground, I'm trading feet. Let's say that's 30 seconds. Could rest. And because I'm doing single arm, under the other side. Bump, bump. I will demonstrate all these things with a jump rope as well before we're done. But again, this is assuming that maybe not everyone's jumping today. I'm going to give you at least 6 different movements that we just saw 2. Standard, 30 seconds on, little rest, alternate feet. Okay, I'm going to give you at least 6. There's 12 that I like. If you follow Buddy Lee is the jump rope king. He's got all kinds of great ways to condition with a jump rope. Look up Buddy Lee. Now we're going to do feet in and out. Okay, third pattern. I'm just getting my cadence. I'm turning my rope or my poi or my towel, whatever. You're turning just for cadence, for precision. And in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. I'm going to trade sides just because can. In and out. So you could put those together 1, 2, 3. Standard, alternating feet, and then feet in and out, in and out. Let's say I pick my number is 20 seconds. So I'm going to go 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off. Again, no magic numbers, right? You need to be intuitive or work with a coach. I'd be happy to work with you on developing protocols for this. So I'm going to try imagining it's about 20 seconds, and I'm just going to go standard. I'm going to try to breathe most exclusively through the nose. Let's say that was 20 seconds, and I'm fast and loose during the break. I'm getting out of the batter's box. I'm forgetting about what I just did, kind of. No threat. Everything's chill. And then I'm going to alternating feet. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. For about 20 seconds. And then I'd be resting for about 20 seconds, fast and loose, getting out of the batter's box. When things are brand new, rest longer. Be fresh when you do something new.
Peter,
try to practice flawless.
We are at 15 minutes to go.
Awesome. Got 15 minutes, guys. So practice. These are the 3 Fs. Practice flawlessly as best that you can to your ability with what you're doing. At that moment, practice flawless. Practice frequently. I said consistency is more important than intensity. Practice consistently first, and then you earn the right to practice intensely. Right? Earn the right. Don't skip steps. Practice flawlessly, practice frequently. And then be fresh. Be fresh when you do it, right? If it's if it's a question of being fresh or being consistent, that's hard sometimes, right? So you can shoot, you ask your coach, get some outside influence on that. When it's a question of, well, I'm always tired, I got work, I got this, but I got to do this. Yeah, maybe that's true. But best to your ability, frequently, be fresh when you do it. And then that flawless part too, right? Like, okay, it's not going to be perfect, but let's be perfect as we can be right this minute. Now, I didn't do the in and out. I got more than 20 seconds rest, but as I'm talking in, out for roughly 20. And then I'll rest. So far, I have not actually been jumping the rope. And what's good about that is I want you could be successful first. If you're not a professional jump roper, I am not a professional jump roper, then I don't want you getting caught up in the rope. Don't let your feet caught in the rope interfere with getting good results. You can get good conditioning results with what I'm offering you by just turning and having, something to have that rhythm and precision to get better. Let's cover 3 more patterns, and then I'd like to show you with an actual rope and talk shop just a little bit. So how about now we do a front to back switch? I'll show you from the side view. This is a little more work, right? Front to back switch, slalom. I think this one's really important for Wushu, getting that lateral movement and your inner and outer legs and lateral subsystem of the abdominal stronger. So it's boom, 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 boom. We'll slalom, and then the one I love to hate, high knees. High knees for conditioning. So I'll do roughly 20 seconds of those 3 movements. Front to back switch, slalom for some lateral, and high knees. Okay, here we go. And just pretend like it's 20 seconds, or maybe the moderator can give me a call on that one. So front to back switch. Breathing through the nose. Best you can. Maybe switching arms. I lost it. And then rest. Rest, fast and loose. Fast and loose, I don't know if I covered that real well. I think we did it in our very first session. It means to shake it out. Like dog shakes water off a fur, like a horse shakes loose a fly. Your body will not really be sensing threat when you shake. It's a way to quickly recover for the next set. It really works. Shake, fast and loose. Shake out your leg. Shake out your quads. Humming and sigh. It's another neurological trick. You'll recover faster. You're hacking into rest and recovery when you hum or sing your favorite song or sigh. Just make sure if you got teammates, you're not interfering with their benefit by singing too much, but it really does work. Hum, sing, all that works, right? So now, high knees. I was trying to buy myself some time before high knees, I think. Here we go. And then 20 seconds off. So I'm giving you just now 6 movements. You could use 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Start with longer breaks. You could have a 2-to-1 rest to work ratio, and that would work great for this. If it was even more maximal, the effort, like if you really knew like what your VO2 max was and you were pushing all that, maybe you take like a 1-to-4, 1-to-3, 30 seconds work, 90 seconds rest. This is something more like a maximal sprint, stuff that's really intense, right? Snatch test with the kettlebell, longer rest for that maybe. But I think most of you will be okay with a 1-to-2 rest work ratio and then working towards a 1-to-1 for this. We have covered standard jumping, inside, outside, alternating feet, right, left, and then switching feet, slalom, back and forth, high knees. And there's 12 good ones. If you look up Buddy Lee, he's got a 12 jump system. I like that. And there's many more. Where I want to do now with a few minutes left, just go a little further with the benefits of the rope. And then also, okay. I think we got some questions maybe we can address there too yeah, I got a few minutes. So brain games with the rope, right? There's a lot you can do to add complexity and compounded movement. So I'm going to put on shoes and use an actual jumping just a little bit here and talk about some of the brain games you could play. I like barefoot when you can do it, but there's good reasons sometimes to have shoes too. So a couple deep breaths. If you don't have a rope, you can still do this stuff kind of in your head with a towel. All right. So actually jumping, a little more work. I'm going to try reviewing very quickly the things that we've done. Try not to hit my lights. Standard. A good goal. This is from Buddy Lee. A good goal before you do anything too fancy. 150 revolutions within 1 minute. All right. 150 revolutions in 1 minute. That's your baseline. If you cannot do 150 revolutions of the rope 4, 5, in 1 minute, then maybe you don't need to be doing all the fancy stuff. Maybe you just get good at that first, right? Or do what I was doing, just turn it. Okay, so 150 in 1 minute's a good goal. Some of the brain games, which I think are excellent to do, backwards jumping. Helps out your wrists and shoulders. You're going to load your body just a little bit differently. And it's a little more the injury prevention side, right? This is kind of an idea from Thai martial arts. If one side is for destruction and one side is rehab, right? So we want some of both, right? We want more power and then more resilience too, both sides of the spectrum. So going backwards can be a game changer. If you can go forward, you can do 150 revolutions in a minute going forward. I challenge you to get 150 going backwards. Send me a video if you got that one down. Next, it's 8-8. So let's do some figure eights. Another little brain game. I think very useful for Taolu and for apparatus. So cross forward. Just a little note on jumping. Again, you can get much more of this from the experts, but I'm not jumping for height, jumping to be quick. I'm not pulling my knees up when I want to go further, just to say that I, have done it. Here's the example, classic double unders. I'm going to try to make 2 revolutions of the rope in 1 jump. What I'm not going to do is just pull these knees up as high as I can in order to do 2 revolutions. I want to keep mostly the same structure in my body that I would use for everything else that we've done, okay? So double unders, CrossFit classic, you get your rhythm, maybe, and you can use that to make it a little higher intensity, the efforts.
Peter, we've got 5 minutes left.
Perfect. That's a good one to finish on as far as intensity. It's a good goal to work to the double unders. You're still a good person if you can't do double unders. And again, frequently, flawlessly, be fresh when you do it. I'm starting to run a little low on the fresh part, so I'm going to slow it down. Those last 3 things were about complexity, keeping it interesting for your nervous system. Your nervous system is not going to want to do the basic jump for minutes at a time. It's not interesting once you get really good at that. So you start playing these other games. You start making it full body integrated. That's a theme for everything I'm trying to teach you today, guys, is keep it stimulating. Fun is another way to say that. Keep it stimulating. A stimulus-rich environment, but a low-threat environment. Get the threat out of there. We can talk about different ways what that means and how to do that. It's martial arts, right? So there is this inherent idea of a fight going on. I don't want to take away from that necessarily. That's part of the spirit of Wushu, is the fight. But when we're practicing, it's not always a competition. We got to have fun. We got to play a little bit, game it. So you stay interested, so you don't break yourself. Control yourself, but don't break yourself. That was backwards. And all the things we did, you can go backwards, guys. You could do alternating feet backwards. You could do the inside out backwards. You could do it all backwards. Figure eights, happy 8-8. Celebrate, double happy, and the double unders for sure, really good. With a minute left, if there was a pressing question, moderator, you could let me know. I hope this really hits you well. Have a great day. Let me know, if you're using some of this stuff. I would love it if you filmed yourself doing any of these techniques that we did today, and tag me on Instagram, Rogue Wolf Training. I'd love to see it. I'd give you some feedback, or I'd give you some hearts, as my 6-year-old likes to say. Give them more hearts, more. I'll like your stuff. The last piece, if there's no questions from the moderator, I want to just give you a little taste of something that I like a lot that I think is very useful in a martial practice. I'm going to roll the rope. This is a whole nother seminar, a whole nother hour. I'm not going to jump the rope. I'm going to roll the rope. And it's all about spirals, figure eights, 8-8. This is something, if you look up some Sugar Ray Robinson, you see him just flying with that rope back in the day. He didn't jump the rope all the time. He rolled the rope a lot. And so this gets me like some coiling back and forth. I can change tempo and altitude, get low, come up, underhand. Again, I'm rolling left, right, high, middle, low, middle, high, middle, low. Roll, coming back to rolling it. Forward circles. Sneaking the rope behind the back. If you're a apparatus, you're doing some double weapons, that's a good tool. You get multiplanar with the movement, and it's just fun to get into that flow state. I had a lot of fun doing this, you guys. I really hope to see you again soon. Happy Wushu Day. Jayo.